At the post-secondary level, one of the things you need to demonstrate is your ability to follow directions and write using the appropriate documentation style. In your writing, language, philosophy, and humanities classes, you normally will use MLA Format. This stands for Modern Language Association Formatting. In this citation style, the contributions of individual authors are important. So the focus in your in-text citations and your works cited entries is on the author of the material. To access your MS Office apps that the college has given you, one of the first things you need to do is log into your account. Your Outlook email is actually one of the apps in MS Office, so to access the other apps, you click on your email icon. You'll note that here you have a row of some of the most used or popular apps in MS Office. To access the others, you can simply click on All Apps. We're going to click on Word. From here, you can do one of two things to begin building your paper. You can select New Document, or you can come over and you can select MLA Style Paper. Now I want to caution you that the MLA Style Paper isn't always correct. I've often found that there are errors with respect to the entries. So I'm going to table that for now, and we're going to actually start with a blank document. So in the document at the top, you've got all of these things you can select for your formatting choices for the paper. One of the important things in formatting is to understand headers. So for MLA Format, you need to have a running header that includes the actual page number and your name. If you click on this tab here on the side, it will tell you that this is the header, and you can add a header. Now, when you do that, students will oftentimes come here and type the page number, and they'll type their name. And that's a decent thing to do. The problem is if you type the number 1 will be your header throughout the paper. There's a simpler way to build this header, and all you need to do is click back into the body of the document, and you're going to select Insert. And from here, you want to insert page numbers. Now, you'll note that visually, this document tells you, or the MS Office package tells you, where the page number will be placed. This is going to be aligned or justified to the left. This will be centered or justified in the center. This will be aligned or justified to the right. And you'll note that it's at the top of the page. Here, the same alignment and justifications, but they're at the bottom of the page. These are called footers, and you don't want a footer in MLA Format. So what you should select is the one that will be aligned or justified to the right. And they tell you in the actual document, we'll add page numbers here. You don't have to put the page numbers in. This right here with the pound sign or the hashtag sign or the number sign is the actual page number placement. And the software will put it in for you so that each page number will be numbered correctly. You want to put your cursor to the left of this arrow and type your last name. I'm actually going to use a different name. After you type your last name, use your space bar to add one space. This will put a space between your last name and the page number. Now, you'll note that if I highlight the last name and the page number, I get a nice pop-up box. And the font is Calibri. Well, you need to write your papers in Times New Roman 12-point font, unless your teacher asks you to do differently. So when you've got this highlighted, you simply come up to the top and you can select Times New Roman and you can select 12-point font. And now we've got a nice MLA running header. Notice how the body of the page or the body of the document is actually a little faint. It's because you're working in the header. Down here is the footer, and remember, we're not going to work in that. To get back to the body of the paper, simply click in the body of the paper. Now, you'll also notice you can't see the header, and I don't want you to panic about that. One way you can see the header is to look at the paper in a different format. If you want to double check that your header really is there, you can come up to View, and you can select Reading View. And now, there's your header. Okay? Now, to get back to the document, you need to let the system know that you want to return to editing. So you can come up here and select Edit Document. Okay? So you actually want to go ahead and edit right here in Word in the Cloud. If you choose Open in Desktop App, what you're going to get is your desktop document. And I'll explain what that is at the end of this video. So I select the first one, and now I'm back in my document. The next thing you need to add is something I call the InText Header. This is where you make sure the teacher knows who you are, and you make sure the teacher knows you know who they are. So the first thing you want to put is your name, and then you want to put your teacher's name. If your teacher is a doctor, then you put doctor instead of professor. From there, you want to put the class you're taking, and what you need to do is put the actual catalog entry the class is called. So we'll put English 101 for this. If you're at a school where they call English EN, then put EN. But at the college, we use 4 letters and then the number of the course. So you should use the 4 letters. Then at the bottom, you put the date. So I will put today's date. Now notice that the date is the day, the month, and the year. You can truncate or shorten some dates. So any date that has multiple syllables can be shortened. For instance, January can be Jan, or if you prefer, January. The same with February and October and September and November and December. You cannot do that with March, April, May, June, July. You can do it with August as well. Now you'll notice that my font and type size is again not correct. You can actually go in and you can change the font and type size so that it doesn't do this all the time, but that's for another video. Go ahead and highlight this and change this to Times New Roman, 12-point font, and it should stay like that for the rest of your essay. I still would caution you that when you go through the revising and editing process of your paper, that you make sure you check the font and the type size. Now, I want to make sure that my paper is double-spaced, and this looks like it is, but you need to make sure. Go ahead and highlight the InText Header, and you can get to this checking thing multiple ways. What I'm going to do is actually come up here to Layout. And when you click on Layout, you have a number of options: margins, the page orientation, the size, the indenting. I'm going to scroll over, and you see you've got spacing before 0 and spacing after 8. Your spacing option should be spacing before 0 and spacing after 0. So I'm going to change that. And when I do, I will click back into the body of the paper, and I noticed it changed. This is great, but it's still not double spaced. So I need to make sure that I continue to have that highlighted. And I'm going to select more options. That's these 3 little periods over here, or ellipses. And when you click on this, it's going to tell you you have paragraph options. And that's really just options for formatting your lines and your paragraphs. So I'm going to select this. And I see that my spacing has changed to before 0 and after 0, but the spacing says multiple. I can use the drop-down menu and select double. I have to tell it OK, and when I do, now I've got a perfectly lovely double-spaced paper. Some instructors will ask you to put a title, so you need to go ahead and use your enter bar. I'm just going to type the word title. But it's important for you to remember that the title needs to be center aligned or center justified. So all you need to do is come back up here, select your home option, that's what I do, and when you come over here and you hover over it, it tells you text alignment. Using your drop-down menu, you can center align this. And again, notice how every time you hover over stuff, it tells you what it is. That's why reading is so important. I'm going to go ahead and align that center. Now, after this, you're going to want to begin building the body of your paper. But again, I'm going to caution you that if you hit your enter bar, you still have everything centered. So remember to come back up here and you want to align everything left. This looks pretty good right now. Please be mindful that the title doesn't need any bells and whistles. You don't need any highlights, nice pretty colors like purple or pink or green. No boldface type, no underlining. It is simple, simple, simple font and type size. If you wanted to add a subtitle, MLA Format asks you to put a colon, and then you can put the subtitle here. Now we need to begin building the actual body of this paper. So I'm going to ask you to follow along with me as we actually open up the MLA template in MS Word. So remember, to access the apps, you want to go to your email, and from here you've got the row of the most often used applications, and go ahead and click again on Word. When Word opens up, we get these options again, and you can come over for me to the MLA style paper and go ahead and select that and open it up. So you'll see that from here, this paper looks pretty much like what we've already built together. I really wanted to show you this because if you came into this and you thought that the brackets should remain there, you wouldn't have a properly formatted paper. The expectation would be that you would know to remove the brackets after you put your name, the instructor name, the course number, and the date. When you click or select the header option here, the same thing might happen. And sometimes, I will get papers from students with the brackets there, and I just want to make sure you knew that those aren't necessary. So what I would like you to do is to select all of this material beneath title and subtitle. We're going to copy and paste it into our template. Once you've selected everything, you're going to use your Control button, CTRL, Control C, C as in cat, for copy. And from there, you're going to return to your Word document and you're going to paste the information. Simply move your cursor or make sure your cursor is still left aligned. I just want to double check mine because I've been moving around in this a bit. And to paste it, you're going to Control, CTRL, Control V as in Victor. Now you've got all this stuff here and you feel great because you've got a beautiful template. But you still have to go back and look at the formatting. So I'm going to scroll up to just beneath my title and subtitle. And this looks wonderful, but I've got these brackets here. So what I would like you to do is to go through each paragraph and take out the brackets. And I want you to make sure that the first line of each paragraph is still indented. I believe I've actually gone through and removed all of my indents. And you'll note that now I've highlighted the entire paper beneath the title and subtitle. I'd like you to go ahead and do the same thing, because I want to make sure we check our line spacing. It's really important, again, that you don't think every template you use is perfect or correct. You really have to be the person who looks at your paper and understands the formatting style and ensures that it is the correct formatting style. So I've got mine all highlighted, and hopefully while I was talking you had a moment to do that with yours. I'm going to come up here to my formatting bar. I want to come all the way over to my 3 dots, my periods, my ellipses, and I'm going to select more options. Now, you can make changes in check by using line spacing here and all of that, but I really like to look at all of my options. You can come down and select line spacing options from here, or paragraph options. It's going to get you to the same table or pop up. Then go ahead and select it, and notice how everything is blank. So it's a good thing I'm looking at this. I want to make sure my line spacing is 0, forgive me. And I want to make sure here it is 0 as well. And then I want it to be double spaced. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select OK and see what that gives me. That looks like a pretty good double spaced paper. I'm happy with that. I'm pretty pleased. So now I want to draw your attention to a few things that aren't correctly formatted, which is again why I caution you to make sure you understand MLA formatting or you know where to go. Even I will go and I will look at other sources to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for my MLA format, just to double check. So you're going to scroll down, let's see, to our first InText citation. Actually, before we get there, we're getting to a InText quotes. Take a look at this. This is great because it's telling you what to do for quotations of more than 4 lines. They put it in alignment for center alignment, and I really don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to come on down here. I'm going to select that. I just want to align it so that it's what we call block aligned. So block aligned means that it's not to the left, it's not to the right, it's not centered. It's just a nice sort of pretty block. So I'm going to do that for a second, see how that looks, and select that. That's not bad. So if you read the information, it tells you that for quotations of more than 4 lines, indent the quote 1 inch from the left margin and do not use quotation marks. To apply this formatting on the Home tab in the Styles Gallery, click Quote. For shorter quotations, you can put them in quotation marks and incorporate them directly into the text. So it's something that students will often ask. I want to quote 4 or more lines. What do I do? Well, now here you know what to do. I would also actually caution you, however, not to use quotations of 4 or more lines often, especially in shorter papers. Follow your instructor's guidance on that, but you don't want your paper to be all about someone else's words. You want it to be about your response to someone else's words. So try not to use those long quotes to get longer papers. You guys have great brains, and I'm sure you can respond to quotes quite well. So continue to scroll down, and there's a particular place here that I want you to make a change. It's right here below figure 1. And it's where we've got the actual in-text citation. So they're trying to show you how you cite inside the text in MLA format, and you need to make sure that you actually have the period at the end of the citation. Okay? And when it says author, last name, and pages, they're not actually giving you a great example of that. So I'm going to come over here and just make something up. And we'll put, let me think of a good name, one of my colleagues, Collins, and then you want to put a comma, I'm sorry, no comma, and you want to put the page. Let's say we're looking at page 21. Oopsie daisy, sorry guys. So in MLA format, you want to have the person's name and the page number you're quoting from. And to make sure that the period is outside the parentheses or the parenthetical. So that looks pretty good. Now, you'll notice if you come down here right after instructor, you've got this phrase, works cited. MLA format requires you to list the people you cite in your paper. So if you're using a quotation of fewer than 4 lines or more than 4 lines, you need to cite that. You need to give the actual props that are due to the authors you're quoting. And I'm sorry I used props, but I couldn't think of another word. Now, one of the things is this works cited needs to be centered. But if you center it from this space, the centering will be off because it's actually got a tab here. So what I do is I backspace this all the way just to make sure I'm flush to the left. And then from here, I go ahead, I select my alignment, and I center it. So like the title, your works cited is centered. If you only cite one work, call it work cited. If you cite more than one, call it works cited. But the samples they give you here are a little bit of a mess, okay? Your works cited list needs to use hanging indents. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, make sure this is flush left. And this first entry needs to have a hanging indent because it's more than one line. So anything more than one line needs to have a hanging indent. I'm going to show you something that usually works. If it doesn't, I'll show you a different way to do it. But you want to go ahead and you want to capture both of your entries. We're going to come back up to our ellipses, to our paragraph options or our line spacing options. We're going to select that, and from here, just double check our spacing, and I'm happy with it. We need to put in a hanging indent. A hanging indent is a special indent. So we're going to come over here, Special, select from the drop-down menu, Hanging Indent. And then we're not going to change the by because it's already correct there. Select OK. And now you have a hanging indent. Notice how the second line of the first entry has been tabbed over about 0.5. That looks really good. The purpose for this is that you want to make sure your works cited list is alphabetical. When your teacher wants to check that you've actually got a citation for everyone you quoted, they will come down, and it's easier to come down by this last name here if it's alphabetical for one thing, but it's also easier if the indent is hanging so you know where one entry begins and where another one ends. So it looks really pretty. Just want to make sure that where you've got author, last name, and first name, you just add some spacings here just so it looks nice and pretty. And then we've got our periods there. That looks pretty good. So come up right above works cited. You can come flush to the end of instructor. You need to put your works cited on a separate page. So use your enter button if you want to. That's what I'm going to do. And get it on page 4. And you'll notice right here I've got these little dots. And over here, this is not your actual page number your professor will see. Remember, MLA format, the page number is at the top in the running header. This tells you what page you're on, how many pages you've written. So now, if I click next to works cited, the dots disappear. I've got my page break here, and I know if I go down to the bottom of my paper that I've got 4 pages, and my works cited page is on a separate page, which is as it should be. This is a really pretty good formatted works cited document. And one of the other things that you've done and should be really proud of, if you go back to the top of the page, you now have a short guide for how to format an MLA paper. What we copied and pasted from Microsoft Online was their explanation of how you MLA format. So if you begin reading, you see it says, research papers that use MLA format do not include a cover page. APA format does. When you scroll down, you'll see that it tells you what the text should look like. The third paragraph discusses what content notes should look like. If you keep going down, it tells you again what your block quote of 4 lines or more should look like. If you come down, how do I insert a table? As you continue to scroll down, how do I insert a chart? Okay, this is a really nice short 3-page style guide for MLA format, so you should be really proud of yourselves. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to rename it. To rename a document in MS Office Online, you simply click into the name box and you can change the name. Most teachers like you to save things with your last name, first name, and the assignment. So we're going to call this Johnson. Oops, sorry. I forgot I'm Renee Smith in this. Smith. I like underscores. Underscore Renee underscore MLA Template. And when we click back into the document itself, the name has changed. There you have a beautiful MLA template. If you're not taking a class with me, this part of the video really isn't material. But if you are, one of the reasons I wanted to go through that, particularly during this time when instruction is online and not face-to-face, is because one of your first assignments for me is to create an MLA template and to upload it in Blackboard. So you're going to come into our course and scroll down and pay attention to the table of contents, to writing assignments. And I keep everything in my table of contents alphabetical. So when you click on writing assignments, you'll note that you've got to turn in an MLA Cloud template. You need to read the directions. So Montgomery College is desirous of promoting information literacy as part of its academic master plan. In this class, your ability to demonstrate proficiency in this area is an important part of your grade. Insofar as using library resources to advance your information literacy skills during COVID, please see Library Access for Remote Learning. One of the first things you must demonstrate is proficiency with MLA Format. I will note differences between MLA and APA format, but in this English class, you'll use APA-style guidelines. This assignment requires you to create an MLA template for essays. To earn all 10 points, your submission must include the following: an MLA running header, an MLA InText header, a title, a sample works cited page with at least 2 entries, and the correct font type size. In addition, this must be submitted as an MS Office Cloud link. The link must give me editing rights. And note well, NB is for nota bene, means note well, pay attention. An invitation to edit is not the equivalent of editing rights. You must also submit your assignment in the correct dialog box. So I think we've created together today a pretty good MLA template. Let me show you how you're going to copy this cloud link to submit in this assignment area. Return to your document, and you want to come to the top and select Share. What you are going to want to do is to put my email address and have it sent to me. If you do that, then I have to actually ask you for access to the document, and that just requires more time. Notice that the default for actually sending me a link is that anybody with the link can edit. If for some reason it doesn't say that, make sure you click on that arrow and you check your settings. But you want to make sure it's anybody with the link can edit. All right, I'm going to cancel out this correct. So you're going to come down here to copy link. A shareable link has now been copied, and again, anyone with the link can edit. So you've got to read. Reading is so important. Select copy again, and then return to the writing assignment in Blackboard. To submit an assignment in Blackboard, you click on the title of the assignment. That's a hyperlink that will take you to the assignment itself. Once you're there, you can scroll down and you get all of the information. So for this particular class, this template's due Sunday, July 19th by 11:59 p.m. It's worth 10 homework points. The same information that's on the assignment is repeated here. You can read it again if you would like to. Scroll all the way down, and you want to read assignment submission. You're going to give me a text submission, so you need to select the right submission box. This dialog box will open up, your trusty Control-V for paste, and there you've got your link that gives me editing rights. Now I can't actually submit this because I'm a teacher, but when you submit it, what you will get is a little note at the top of your Blackboard page that says success, assignment submitted, and it will give you an assignment number. I always encourage students to copy and save that, put it somewhere in your email, because you want to make sure you've got that proof you submitted it. When you scroll down here, don't attach a file. I don't want a desktop document. You can go ahead if you want and select I agree to submit my papers to the global reference database. And for every actual essay you write, you should select that. You do not want to paste the link in comments. I'm the one who's going to make comments on your work. and then you go ahead and you can submit it. If you're a little scared about submitting it, you can save the draft. But here is the beauty of the links. I'm not going to grade the papers until after the due date. So when you have a link, you can submit the link, if you have it, as soon as the assignment opens up. You can keep working on the actual document. The link will stay the same. Every change you make in the document will be there, and then when I go to grade it, you've had lots of time to revise and edit your work. I didn't actually have time to talk about desktop documents, but that's for another video, I guess. I appreciate you listening to this one, and I really hope that you're proud of the work you've done to complete this first assignment. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at the college email address or at mcrvengl@gmail.com.